Yo, what are you saying? This boy here, and welcome to today's 2016 Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama review for you guys. So yeah, let's get into today's video. So right off the bat, into qualifying, we saw before I get into qualifying, Juan Pablo Montoya has a black helmet going into the race. Actually, yeah, before qualifying he actually had a black helmet going into the race and qualifying as well. It was quite cool, it was quite sick. It was actually supposed to lose weight. It was supposed to be 40 kilograms lighter than the standard one that he'd been using in the past few races and last year as well. So that was awesome. I loved the look. It was sick, it was awesome. It was just a full-on black look, which was quite sick. So yeah, it was quite awesome. Anyways, back to qualifying. Well, that actually didn't really last long for Juan Pablo Montoya, because he actually qualified last place. Actually, shock, surprise to be honest, because you know, I'd expect him to be a dark horse for pole position, but the fact that he qualified in last place was quite sad for him, to be honest, and we would have to do a lot of work and a lot of overtakes during the race if you wanted to get a decent result at the end of it. Also, the Hondas didn't really much favour too much as well. They were really at the back, to be honest, bar one driver who I'll talk about later. They were pretty much, most of the Hondas were pretty much at the back end of the field, to be honest, despite Juan Pablo starting last place. So not really a good day for Honda. Honda really being far behind from Chevrolet at the moment, but hopefully with upgrades coming pretty soon, I believe they will be up there with Chevrolet and taking the fight to Chevrolet. So yeah. Also, another big name who didn't really do well and missed out in the top 6 was Helio Castroneves. He started 7th place, really struggling with the car. I don't know, I mean, he didn't really get to par with the other Penske drivers, so yeah, unfortunate for him, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So yeah. As we got into the Fast 6, there was Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais and Graham Rahal. One big surprise in that was Graham Rahal, who had been struggling at the start of the season, really came alive on this race weekend. And actually this was quite interesting, because last year that was pretty much the same thing as well, because he came alive as well in Barber, and then afterwards his season took off from there on. This is starting to be the same thing as well. You know, him having a torrid start and then now having that break in Barber. So that is pretty awesome. I don't know why he hasn't been having that break, or has been continuing to have that break that he had last year in Barber to continue at the start of the season, because you expect him to be the dark horse of this championship, but the fact that he's been not is quite surprising. But thankfully this ain't going from bad to worse, and actually he's been able to get that big break that he's been looking for in Barber. So yeah, another guy who's been seeming to have a big break as well was Joseph Newgarden. He actually had a great weekend last time out, well actually last year actually, as he took his maiden win. Now this year he's done pretty much the exact same things, so 3rd place. It was pretty awesome. On a track that he loves, on a track that he took, like I said, he took his maiden win, and yeah, starting on 3rd place on the 2nd row of the grid. Yeah, I mean, that's just awesome, man. I mean, he could win this race. He could do the exact same thing that he did last year. So yeah, don't count out Joseph and Graham in this race, because they could dark horses against the Penske boys. But in the end, it was a very, very dominant pole position by the two Penskes of Simon Pagenaud and Will Power. Will Power finishing in 2nd and Simon Pagenaud on the pole. His 1st pole in a while, to be honest. This is like he's been his 4th in Indycar history. His 1st this season. So good for him. Completely dominated the lap, to be honest, and yeah, deserved the pole thoroughly. 2nd was Will Power, like I said, good lap by him, especially as he's been having a tough season so far. The fact that he has finally got it up to a solid 2nd place is quite good for him. So yeah. At the start of the race, as they went into green, there was troubles actually going on, particularly with Michaela Lotion and Carlos Munoz. Both of them sort of taking each other out at the start, which meant that there was another formation lap. Very, very childish behaviour, I would say, to be honest, particularly at the start of the race, you know, with the rolling start and all that kind of shit. The fact that they messed it up, you know, I know it's quite common, like with rolling starts especially, but come on guys, 2x2x2 until the green flag. Like, literally, that was just stupid.
To me, like, as a Lotion is trying to go to speed, he gets hit in the back by Carlos Munoz, and that turns a Lotion into Hawksworth in the 41, and that's the second time this year that...
And then finally we got into green, and as the race got underway, it was a good start from Simon Pagenaud. Behind was Will Pad, and behind was Joseph Newgarden and Graham Rowe, who'd actually passed Scott Dixon at the start. But as they made their way into the hairpin, there was a bit of an incident for Bourdais. Bourdais got out of control, and as he went through the hairpin, punted Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon spun around the hairpin. A lot of the drivers thankfully avoided him without making collisions with him, and as a result, Scott Dixon would have to rejoin from the back of the grid. So unfortunate for him there. Also, Simon Bourdais would have to come to the pits and sort out his damage. He actually had a damaged front wing, so he would have to get that fixed, and as a result he too would be at the back of the field as well. And out of all of this, there were two guys who actually made quite good use of this. One, Pablo Montoya and Marco Andretti, both of them taking advantage of the incident at the hairpin. Marco Andretti making, I believe 10 places, 9 or 10 I believe it is. So that was awesome. I think he started 17th and moved up into 7th or 8th, so that was awesome. But on top of that, Juan Pablo Montoya actually moved up into 6th from, I believe it was 13th before the incident, so that was pretty cool. From the back to 6th. What a result, what a drive, what a start from the veteran Colombian drivers. So at the front of the field, Simon Pagenaud pulled away from the rest of the field, with Will Pad behind and the two young guns of Newgarden and Rahal. Then afterwards we saw a really good battle for 4th place, I believe. No, actually 5th it was. That was between Tony Kanaan, James Hinchcliffe and JPM, and I believe Connor Daly. I'm not entirely sure. It might have been Connor Daly, it might have been Marco Andretti, so yeah. But they got into a really good scrap for 5th place, and they were fighting out hard. Kanaan leading in the field, of course, and really was struggling to keep with par with the top 4. And yeah, he was really struggling with the car, to be honest. So much so that he actually got passed by James Hinchcliffe inevitably via pit stops, I believe it was. So yeah, and then afterwards, so with JPM as well. So yeah, not really good race for Tony Kanaan, really, to be honest, and also not really a good race for the Chip Ganassi cars, to be honest, because as well too, Charlie Kimball had sort of a mixed day, to be honest. He had to give a place back to, I believe it was, don't know who it was, but he had to give a place back to someone for blocking who he thought he was bullshit. So yeah, I mean, just not a good day for the Target Chip Ganassi crew. Hopefully they can bounce back going into the month of May, which will be the Indy month, yeah. Then afterwards, the hairpin became really a corner of action, to be honest, as Hunter Ray made a really good move on the outside. I don't know who it was. It was sort of a black and white car. He went around the outside of him. It was a very, very good manoeuvre, to be honest. Really, really risky, to be honest, because the car on the inside could have easily hit Ryan Hunter-Reay, but no, he didn't. So as a result, Ryan actually managed to get ahead of that driver and move up to, I believe it was 10th place. So a good overtake and a good drive by him as well. He actually had a okay race, to be honest. He was kind of in the background, to be honest. You know, he wasn't really a main threat for the race, to be honest. Yeah. But then also we had another incident at the hairpin as well. Connor Daly, he was saying that he was struggling with tyre grip, and as a result he actually ran wide after battling someone going into the hairpin, and really went off the circuit and lost a bunch of time, and really after that he was just kind of in the back of the field, not doing much, and really played a big factor later on in the race, which I'll explain later. Back at the front, we saw Graham Rahal make a run. He was in 4th at the moment, but then making a run on Joseph Newgarden to overtake him after the on the back straight. Very, very clean pass, very, very clean indeed, and as a result moved himself into 3rd place and was on the charge for the 2 Penske's. And Joseph Newgarden, by the way, he had a pretty good race. Yeah, despite that overtake, he would then play a big factor in the latter part of the race, which I'll explain, like I said, later on in the video. And then as they came into the final pit stops, the leaders came in. It was a good pit stop by all of them, but bar Will Power, who had a poor pit stop, 10 seconds, and as a result was jumped by Graham Rahal, who Graham actually moved up into 2nd place, and as a result Graham was on the charge of Simon Pagenaud ahead. So now the race was on. And people were starting to believe, including myself, were starting to believe that Graham had a major shot of winning the race. And it actually looked like it was going to be the way it was going to be, because Graham actually close majority to Simon Pagenaud. So much so that he was right on the tail of him, and that was all because of lap traffic. So yeah, and what do I think of it? I think it's good in a way because it closes up the field, which makes for good racing, but at the same time it kind of frustrates you a little bit, especially as you're on a mission to close someone. The rule is on Indycar, that's the thing, the rule is in Indycar, if you're the lead car, you have to get by the lapped car, and then afterwards he would have to get out of the way of the cars behind, which kind of is a bit of an unfair advantage, especially to guys who are behind the lead car. You know, it makes it a bit unfair. It makes the lead car, you know, lose out of a win. So yeah, I mean, if they did something like F1, where you just have to get, yeah, sorry about that, but where was I? So to the point, if you could just like make it like F1 where you have to allow the drivers through, that would be kind of cool, to be honest, because that would make it a bit more of a fair advantage, particularly with the lead car and the chasing driver as well. Make it more pure as well. But nonetheless, Graham closed majorly on Simon Pagenaud, and he actually made a move. He went for the inside, and they actually touched as he went into the chicane part. And as a result, Graham took the lead because of that. What do I think of it? I think it was a racing incident, to be honest. I mean, Graham had every right to be on the inside, and so did Simon. But I think Simon should have just left him enough room and really maybe backed out of it as well to allow Graham through. You know, I know he's trying to keep that lead, but still, you know, Graham's alongside, and when you're alongside, you have to give the guy next to you space. So yeah, I think Pagenaud being a little bit too aggressive, especially on blocking for Graham's, yeah.
Really tight, and he's going to make a move. Oh, contact there. Pagenaud off track. Pagenaud blocked him a little bit, and then.
But it wasn't over yet. Graham Rahal actually got put under pressure again from Simon Pagenaud. Simon had a bit of a run on Graham Rahal. Graham, by the way, actually had all of his push to pass. He had all 8 push to pass, whereas the rest had about 5 or 4 left, which meant that Graham was in a really good position to take the win. But he was under pressure, particularly with Simon Pagenaud, who came back at Graham Rahal and made a move on the outside, tried to make it work on the outside, but as soon as they came off the hairpin, Jack Hawksworth, who was slowing down to allow the leaders through, ran into this, actually turned in and hit Graham Rahal, which meant that Graham Rahal actually had front wing damage, which meant that Pagenaud retook the lead as again. Graham actually kept the lead for a little bit, and then Pagenaud would take the lead to retake it to lead the race. Very, very heartbreaking, particularly for Graham as well. You know, he had been doing so well. He finally led the race. It looked like he was going to actually win the race, but to be cheated of that because of that is so unfortunate. And I really feel for Graham because he actually did a really good job. He managed to tyres well, he got up the field when he needed to, and to have that at the final laps of the race is so crushing for him.
And Nerfham that it's going to be a racing incident.
Here
Ran
comes
wide.
Pagano. Pagano looks
Gotta
to the
use that push to
inside.
pass.
He doesn't go to the push to pass.
But he'll have a chance here. There he is. He's on the button.
Now he's on the button. And to the outside through turn 5. They've got to get by Hawksworth. Hawksworth in the 41 just in front of him. Side by side for the lead.
Oh, the front
wing
wing's gone
comes
now.
off.
That's it. No way Graham Rahal can keep the pace with that wing gone.
Wing has come off the 15 and off course he goes.
And back
the
on.
pole. And
So pretty much in the end of the race, because of Graham's incident, that meant that Simon Pagenaud picked up his win. He picked up another win, his second win of the season, another back-to-back victory for him. And second was Graham Rahal. Good drive by him, especially as he had to nurse the car to second. Thankfully, he did not lose out on the podium positions. Third was Joseph Newgarden. So Joseph actually got past Will Power at the end of it. We didn't quite see it at the end, but he did manage to get past Will Power and yeah, take that third place. A fantastic result for him, especially as he drove a really comfortable race and really challenged hard on the 2 Penske's, particularly with Will Power as well. So yeah, fourth was Will Power, good drive by him, especially the season that he's been having. Fifth was, I believe it was Juan Pablo Montoya, who did well to score fifth, especially as he had a steering issue. Yeah, I forgot to mention he actually had a steering issue during the entire race. So yeah, he did a good job getting that to fifth place. Sixth was, I believe it was Tony Kanaan, good drive by him. Seventh was, I believe it was James Hinchcliffe, so good drive by him. Eighth was, I think it was Marco Andretti, and yeah, that's all I know so far. So yeah. Overall, pretty darn good race. It was pretty good. I would have to say I'd give it probably an 8 out of 10. A really solid race, nonetheless. Really good. A lot of overtakes, a lot of creative strategies going on, and particularly with 2 young guns really going at it and taking the fight to Penske as well. So yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below as well. What you think make of the race? Was it good? Was it enjoyable? Let me know in the comments. Also, hit a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. It's your boy. I am out. Peace.